Do you ever feel super awkward saying no to people? Or maybe even rude? And as a result, you end up saying yes to a lot of things, and later down the line, you really regret it and you end up being stressed and burned out, whatever it may be. If this is something you can relate to, I want to welcome you to the club. This is something I used to struggle with so much, especially coming from a shy background. I used to people please left, right, and center. And there's no denying, as a high achiever that we have to get great at saying no. Steve Jobs was famous for saying how it is only by saying no we can concentrate on what truly matters in our life. And there's another great quote I read online, which is, if you don't prioritize your life, somebody else will. Isn't that true, by the way? And that's why today I want to share with you the 3 steps you must know in order for you to get great, world class at saying no, without feeling rude or without feeling awkward. So without further ado, let's go on to the first step inside it, which is, when you say no, don't justify anymore. Don't give excuses and don't fluff about. The reason for this is, firstly, it's not a great habit to start giving excuses in regards to why you have to make a decision. That shows that you're very uncertain as a being, and that's not a good energy to be giving out to people. You want to be firm with your decisions and you want to stick to it. Another reason why you should not fluff about or give excuses is because of the fact that when you are saying no to someone and you're dealing with somebody who's quite dominant, let's say, they will begin to nitpick at everything you're saying, the story that you're sharing with them, and they'll begin to just pick at it, and eventually you may end up giving in. And so the more things you end up chucking out in terms of why you can't say no, the more they've got chances of hooking you back in, so you eventually have to say yes. So you got to be just firm with your decision. If it's a no, just say no. It's going to feel awkward at the start, but it's just like riding a bike for the first time. It is awkward, right? You start with stabilizers and you're terrible at riding the bike, but one day you can take the stabilizers off and you're off to the races, right? It's exactly the same. Saying no is a skill. At the start, you feel awkward. You may feel rude, but realize this, you're actually doing them a massive, massive favor later down the line. And this is the reason why. This is step number 2. Realize by saying no, you're actually helping them in the long term. You got to realize that if right now you cannot fully commit to somebody's request, you're only able to actually give them half-hearted effort. True? And let me ask you, are you going to be able to bring them maximum results if you're only putting yourself into it like 50%? Definitely not. So are you actually doing them a favor? No. It may seem like to them you're actually helping them, but in reality, you're not really helping them. You're not all in, because you can't, right? Because you may have overcommitted to stuff. Isn't that true? So realize this, by you saying no, they can find somebody else who can say yes and fully commit to that. So realize you're actually helping these people in the long run. And I know this from personal experience. It was only a couple of years ago, I had this opportunity where a lot of speaking organizers just out of the blue just was reaching out to me. And I ended up saying yes to everyone, right? They're wanting me to travel, just come speak on these stages. I ended up saying yes, right? It sounded like a great opportunity. But what ended up happening is because I overcommitted, I had no time to prepare all my speaking notes. I had no time to practice speaking and so forth. And as a result, I ended up burning out. I ended up having to say no to pretty much every single organizer. I ended up screwing all of them over, all in one go. At the time, of course, when I said yes, they all are happy. But guess what? Eventually, I couldn't even fulfill it. And so this is why they were left disappointed. And it was kind of too late by then because they had already booked a venue and so forth. So realize this, by you saying no, you're actually helping them in the long term. So you got to realize, although they may react negatively at the start, focus on the long term here. You're actually helping them right now. Is that making sense? You're helping them in the long term. And you're going to allow them to find someone else who can fully commit. And you got to be comfortable with that. So that's the second step. And that leads perfectly onto the third step, which is to offer possible alternatives to them if possible. However, just don't end up giving in as a result of that in terms of like saying, oh, you know what, let me help you, right? It's important you stick to your decisions because that shows them that you're very reliable and certain in terms of an individual. You don't want to start being a fluffy person who starts changing their mind. It's not a good vibe to give off, right, as a high achiever. So to quickly summarize, the first step is don't give excuses, don't justify, don't fluff about. When you're making a decision, be firm. Sincere, but firm. Because the second step, realize you're actually doing them a greater service, is a long-term greater good. By you saying no right now, you're actually helping them in the long term. The third step is to offer them possible alternatives if you know there is alternatives, but do not feel obliged that you have to offer them an alternative.